Patrick Pitts. Patrick, welcome into Mission 1000.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me.
No problem, man. Well, let's talk about that backdrop right there. That's a race car hood
Yes,
up
yes.
behind
I
you.
work for Southwest Funding, and the owner is, amongst other things, a race car driver. And I was gifted that hood a few weeks ago, and I figured it was a good talking piece here in the office.
Definitely, especially looks like it's been wrecked, which is really cool. And they gave it to you, which is even cooler. So it looks real
Yeah,
nice back there, man.
yeah. I was kind of torn on should I wipe it off or not, and
Oh,
yeah, pretty much everybody was like, no, you got to leave it. The scuffs and the dirt and the leave it as is.
yeah, that's a good call. That's the right call, I think. So it looks great back there. Well, I'm happy to introduce you to everybody today. Patrick is kind of a big deal in the mortgage arena, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But we have to let everybody really know who you are, Patrick, and where you came from. So right now, you're in Austin, Texas, right? Is that where you live too?
Yeah, yeah. I live in the Austin area. I'm actually in a suburb. Well, I fix my camera here. I'm in a suburb of Austin called Round Rock. So I'm about, probably about one exit up from, one or two exits up from Austin. So yeah, and just well, I'm from Dallas originally. So I'm familiar with the Dallas area. I grew
Oh,
up
what
in
part of Dallas are you originally from?
from the Mesquite, Garland, Richardson, kind of that southeast side of Dallas.
I know it well.
There you go. Yeah, it's that's where I grew up, and I think that area shaped me, for who I am today. I'd just say.
Yeah, for sure. Well, North Texas is a great place to grow up. That's where I grew up too, just a little north of you in Allen and McKinney area. And but there's a lot more to do in Austin, it seems like, than there is in Dallas. How long you lived there?
I've lived in Austin for 15 years now. Shoot, yeah, 15, 16 years now.
Nice.
Love Austin. Love it.
I love Austin too. I love visiting Austin. I've I've imagined living in Austin before. There's crazy, crazy traffic. It's with the UT campus, 35, it gets real jammed up down there. But man, it's one of my favorite places to visit in Texas for sure. A great music scene, great eats. You got all the things.
Yeah, I think being able to work wherever I am at, wherever I can, I don't need to face the traffic. So I
Nice.
definitely hear the traffic is the first thing people say about Austin, but I could tell you that we don't experience it too much, or I don't. I'll just say.
Okay. That's
Try
good
to
to hear.
travel. If I have to go somewhere, I make sure it's at like 10 o'clock, kind of after those peak hours.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so you got 15 years or so down in Austin, and how long have you been in the mortgage industry?
Yeah, so I guess I've been in the mortgage industry for about 13 of those years, 13, 14 years now.
Okay.
So been a long time. I've seen a lot of changes in this industry, obviously. I think that's the one thing that's, probably the most consistent, like any, is just change, right?
Right.
Just be able to adapt to any environment, be able to adapt to any guidelines change or anything like that, and you'll do well in really anything, right? Like
Yeah. Now
the
did you have
world
a
is always
career
changing.
before mortgage? Was there a, quote unquote career path you were, and you just fell into mortgage like a lot of people do, or what was the
Yeah,
plan?
yeah. So I left the Mesquite area, Dallas area as a bartender, and I
Oh,
was bartending and went to Tampa, Florida, and was bartending there, and came back to, was bartending here in Austin, and came back to say, you know what, I don't want to work on the weekends. I don't want to work on Sundays. Let me just have Sundays off so I can watch our Cowboys. And
Yes.
so I got into banking. I got into like just a teller position in my early 20s, and then became a branch manager for a community bank, a retail bank. And from there, I got into the mortgage business about 2008, 2009 range.
Wow.
And
What a time to get in.
yeah, right. What a time to get in, right? Crazy, the 2008. And ironically, it put me back into working weekends. And, so it kind of full circle there. And it took me a long time to get to having some weekends off. It was a lot of times of lugging around the computer on family, the few family vacations we had, doctor's appointments, children's events, and you're just carrying your lap around as an entrepreneur, trying to get everything off the ground and get it up and running while you're wearing so many different hats.
Man, I'm wearing a hat right now, but I've worn all of those hats as well. When you go to
Yeah, my
work,
light just went out.
when you go to work for yourself, you start off. Uh, there is no scheduled hours. You're working 24/7 and attending to business as it comes because you have to. Because it sounds like you got some kids. How many kids do you have?
Yeah, so I have two kids. So my kids are why pardon me while I get my light back up and running here.
No, go for it.
Um, my kids are 10 and 11. Um, I coach their basketball team, and serve on the board there. So I'm pretty involved with kind of some of their extracurricular activities and making sure they stay in sports and stay in, kind of around the right crowd. As they get older, I think sports is just such a great part of growing up, and some of the funnest times. And there's so many great bonds that you meet in football and basketball and cheer and that kind of thing that stick with you, throughout life. So I definitely try to keep them involved, and that's a really good, I think experience that we've had in our community here.
Yeah, for sure. So 10 and 11 is how old they are. So you had two babies in diapers for a little bit.
Yeah, it was that was difficult too, and the diapers weren't
That's the
so
worst
bad.
part. That's the worst part of raising them is changing
I
the
tell
diaper.
you, I had that conversation earlier today, and I tell you the daycare, right? Having them both in daycare at the same
Oh
time
man, it's like
was pricey.
you need three or four jobs just to pay for the daycare.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, cool. So they're in basketball now. I know you are huge in basketball.
Yeah. I play basketball still, active. I try to stay active and still playing a couple leagues around town here. And then, be able to coach the kids. I coach two sixth grade teams currently. My son plays, although he's more of a football kid, but he's in his second year of basketball. And so is my daughter. She's in her second year. And yeah, we have a good time out there. And we don't have to sit out in the cold like we did in football, right? Like
That's right. Yeah, that
you
basketball court. There's
can go
access to those
in.
indoor ones. Uh,
Yeah, it's indoors.
yeah, that's nice. You can play year round and stay in shape. That's a good way to stay in shape too. That's probably like the second hardest cardio sport I can think of.
Oh,
Team sport, right? You
oh
probably
yeah,
got like
yeah.
soccer and then basketball is probably right up there.
Oh, absolutely. It's a good way, like you said, it's a good way to stay in shape. That's for sure.
That's right. Well, tell us. I've got a couple questions about the mortgage business. Obviously, you're leading a team of 11 people now, which is impressive. That growth for your team in the mortgage business. How do you grow a team in the mortgage business sustainably?
I think like anything, it's I'm the type of person that you have to jump and assemble the plane on the way down. You I think that there's levels to the mortgage industry that you cannot skip steps. You are going to come in, and as you build your team, you may not be so focused on profitability, and you may lose money, in fact, until you kind of iron out all the kinks and all the pieces. But I think in one sentence, without going on about some of the failures that we had along the way, is simply having a lot of people. How you grow your team in the mortgage industry is having more people calling new clients than you do supporting you to work those deals. Right? There's a fine line of having a lot of support and making sure that your loan officers and everybody can go out and make it rain, right? And go out and find applications, and that's what they do. And not hiring so many people that, because there's an unlimited supply of people that want to support your business. They'll work the deals once you come in, but not having too many that it balloons up your overhead and puts the strain on you to have to go out and close, X amount of deals per month. So you really have to understand where you're at in your career, being honest with yourself. Okay, this is where I'm at. I'm closing, only, let's just say, for example, if you're only closing 3 deals a month, then you probably only need one team member to help you. If you're closing anywhere from 3 to 5, you might need 2 people to help you, and you just kind of grow from there. It's really, don't overwhelm yourself with salaried positions.
Okay, interesting. So, yeah, it sounds like you've got, team member, at a certain point, you've got team members for every level of that funnel as you're bringing in the new prospects, and then they trickle down all the way into clients, and then the whole closed loop around when you have to stay in communication with those people throughout the years.
Yeah, absolutely. We got 3 or 4 people that are out finding deals just with my production. Then I have 4 or 5 more loan officers, as well, that are finding their own production. But we have 3 or 4 people that are calling, new leads, staying in contact with our database, our realtor partners, any kind of referral partners. And then also, once a deal becomes a deal, then we have a team and a process of people that are going to work those loans from, submitting to processing all the way through closing and getting the borrower the keys.
Yeah. And I've heard your industry is the type of industry a bit like mine where it can be easy for someone to come in and then crash and burn, and they're out just as fast as they came in. Why does that happen in your industry?
I think people are not willing to eat dirt for long enough, to be honest. Like I said, I grew up in Mesquite, Garland, where this is not the rich area of Dallas for those that know or don't know. So you learn to get by growing up like that. And that's what I mean. It really shaped who I am, of not trying to act too fancy. People are scared to starve for a little bit. People are scared to, go shop at Goodwill for whatever you got to get to make it in those early days, right? I think people try to get too fancy, try to keep up with other people, whether it be in the industry or neighbors or friends, and they're not willing to suffer for a year, 2 years even, until you really break through,
Right.
and it's worth it if you just hold on.
Yeah. Just like starting anything from scratch, there's going to be struggle, and there's going to be pain along the way. And a lot of that isn't it mentality that's ingrained into us for some of us from an early age. It can be learned. It's better learned at an early age. You see a lot of some of the most successful people that we witness came from nothing, right? I mean, people on
Absolutely.
display, they came from absolutely nothing. They know what it's like to be hungry, and the entrepreneurial struggle is nothing compared to what their real life struggle was early in their lives. Did you have any when you were a kid? Did you have any major, struggle, or was it just your, you know, minimalist lifestyle that you learned how to starve and be okay with it?
Yeah, I'd say we definitely had a struggle. You know, I was raised by a single mother who she raised five children.
Wow.
I have a brother that has cerebral palsy and epilepsy, so special needs child. Um, and you know, there would be time. I mean, shoot, we've been evicted whenever I was a kid. We were evicted from 4 or 5 houses.
Okay.
And you know, for those that don't know, you know, there's you getting evicted from a house and you getting the letter saying, "Hey, you got to go." And then there's another thing to have the constable show up at the door and put your stuff out in the front yard and lock you out, right? So it gets to that point sometimes of you know, where we didn't have electricity for a few weeks, no water for a few weeks, where you even maybe grab your neighbor's hose and fill up your bathtubs at night or the back of your toilet so they can flush, right? Like,
Right.
so those times I think really helped me, like I said, not be too fancy now. Now we're doing well and we got a team of people and things are great, but uh, you know, I talked to our CEO last week and he said the you know they make the nameplate on the door where you could slide it in and out of your nameplate so you can be replaced,
That's right.
right? And so that kind of mentality, make sure my light doesn't turn off here. um, that kind of mentality, just to say, hey, anything could come and go very quickly, and don't get too fancy, don't get too caught up, and make sure you keep your debt down, keep your expenses in line. And you have to, in your business, you have to know your numbers so that you can manage those numbers accordingly. And that's what kind of my mentor in this business taught me, and amongst other things, and really helped guide me to making sure we're running a profitable branch.
For sure. And from everything I've witnessed and everything I've heard, your team is amazing, and you're a great leader to your team. I think they would probably all agree with that. And someone like you that came from some of that struggle, that's tough. Being a single mother and having been evicted with all those kids. I don't know if y'all all lived together at the same time, all five, but you may have, and that's a lot for a single mother to deal with. Can't even
Yeah.
imagine a single mother having to deal with providing an income and having five kids to feed. So God bless her.
Yeah,
Uh,
you find the beauty in the struggle of anything, you know, like I think she did as well. And being able to find that beauty in the struggle and the journey, right? Like everything happened perfectly because it made me who I am today.
yeah,
And so yeah, I mean, it's great.
and who you are today is ever evolving. Um,
Absolutely.
you yourself have gone through one of the hardest things someone could ever go through. You were diagnosed with cancer, and I want to dive into that just a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, cancer's no joke. I know quite a bit about health and cancers and things of that nature, and some people claim it's hereditary, like, oh, breast cancer runs in my family. But from what I've experienced with my family and my clients and everybody like that, I've learned pretty quickly that cancer does not discriminate. Uh, Race, color, religion, creed, cancer doesn't discriminate. You found you wound up with cancer, found yourself with cancer. Did you catch it early, or was it later in the process?
Yeah, no, it was early. So you know, just to kind of tell you that story and how I was just kind of you know, to piggyback on how everything happens perfectly. Um it happened to the right person, let me just say. So as I share the story, I, you know, people say I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. And I really mean that. That's not just like a cliche that I'm using. Like literally, as I was laying there, I was thinking, this is horrible. I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Of course.
Um, but I'm glad it happened to me. And um, it was a blessing actually. So 2019, I go to the dentist for a loose crown that I just thought needed to be fixed. At that point, the dentist then tells me he sees a bump in the roof of my mouth. So the your palate, your upper palate,
Yeah.
right? Um, at that point, I could tell from his body language. I like to think I'm a pretty good reader of body language. The words that came out of his mouth were, "It's probably nothing, but you should get it checked out." But his body language
Did he say
said,
that? He said it's probably nothing.
yes, I'll never forget. Yeah, it's probably nothing, but I think
Is that just bedside manner with doctors when they know, ah, man, this is something, but I'm gonna tell them, ah, it's probably nothing.
yeah, I mean, I think he just didn't want to panic me. He's a fantastic guy, and that noticing that, because I had been to the dentist so much at that point, he knew the inside of my mouth, and I think that saved my life. I think so. The fact that he caught that, and I made sure I tell them and their staff, hey, you're not just in here. Uh, making
Cleaning
people's
teeth.
smiles look good, right? Like, yeah, you're making a difference. It's more than just that surface level, getting somebody out of the pain of a toothache or whatever. So, from seeing that dentist that day, he sent me to a periodontist,
Okay.
which I think is like a gum doctor.
Right.
Okay, so then the periodontist sends me to an endodontist, which that is a root doctor.
You saw all the dentists.
Yeah, yo, yeah. Oh, right. There's more too. Yeah. Then from there, I went to a family, your primary care physician, right? So then I'm out of dental completely, and I'm like, okay, this is not probably good. And nobody's really
Moving
telling
into
me,
medical.
yeah, you're into medical. And then I go into a facial reconstruction plastic surgeon. And I'm like, how am I at a facial reconstruction? At that point, they do a surgery on me on October 25th, 2019. That
Now,
surgery,
what was the surgery for?
they
Have they
remove a tumor in the roof of my mouth.
okay, and have they like told you already like this is cancer?
They told me at the time this is not cancer; it's just a tumor there.
A tumor. Okay.
Um, and they remove that tumor.
Okay.
And then about 6 weeks go by, and you're on a liquid only diet at that point. I was in the hospital for about 2 days after the surgery, and then you go home and you're on a liquid diet, and the roof of your mouth is kind of healing.
Wow.
And then they call me the day before Thanksgiving, and they say, we did a biopsy of that tumor, and we need you to come back in on Monday. Well, if the day before Thanksgiving is a Wednesday, right? So it's Wednesday. They're telling me, hey, our office is shutting down. We need you to come in on Monday. So you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to know something's not right.
Wow.
And so I go in on December the 2nd, and they tell me basically that day that it's cancer and you have to have the surgery pretty quickly. And I had that surgery on December 31st of 2019.
Last day.
Yeah. And it was for insurance purposes too. It's like you're maxed out on coverage and stuff like that. You want to make sure you get your coverage in at that time or whatever.
That makes sense.
So we had the surgery that day, and January 1st, 2020, basically from then to January 7th, I'm in a medically induced coma in downtown Austin.
Okay.
And
I got a couple questions about that. So you're in a
yeah,
medically induced coma for a whole week, 7 days.
yes.
And while you're in this medically induced coma, do you have any memory?
I do. I was telling somebody about it today. You know, I I remember a lot actually. So first, some of it is you're on drugs. You're been medically induced, so they're injecting you with a whole bunch of drugs. So on in one respect, I remember sitting looking at the curtains, and you're like the curtains are like you're swimming in the curtains and going around you, and I could see them in the room. And then some of it's kind of like spiritual to where like um you see parts of the hospital that I don't feel like I was at. You know, it was around Christmas time. Like I said, it was December 31st. So I feel like I seen the room where they're giving kids presents. And my kids, and here's the other part was kind of trippy where I see my kids out playing in a field with, you know, just some giant origami bunnies is really what I remember, right? And so really like trippy, you know. And then the other part of it, the subconscious part of it is, you know, like I said, I grew up kind of from a poor family. So I just have a fight mentality, right? Like I'm a fighter. We're gonna survive based on, you know, my effort. I'm the one that's gonna get us out of the hood, so to speak, right?
Right.
And so I never ever would quit. I've done triathlons. I've done you know, I've really been in uncomfortable situations, swimming for distance in cold open waters, right? Like where you cannot quit. So I've been in those type situations. So I say that just to say like while I was under, I seen like the line of quitting, and I seen the um where you may, you know, like if you didn't come back and fight through it, like you could go this way. I don't really know how to articulate that. Is
Yeah,
like,
that metaphorical fork in the road, like you've got this decision to make and you know what
yeah,
the
and
choice is.
absolutely. And what was weird is because I never thought I would even see the line. I would never consider going to that and giving up and quitting, but I saw it. And I came back this direction, but I saw that line like, okay, if I don't go, then I just could go this way peacefully, and I feel like I seen death, you know, basically, you know. And I seen like if I just it would have been very easy to just, it's a decision, it's a subconscious decision that I feel like I made. And you know, so yeah, came back, you know, they basically kept me pretty drugged up. My mouth is swollen. I'm incubated. I have feeding tubes and all kinds of. If you go to the real Patrick Pitts on Instagram, you can see some of the videos. If you scroll back at my timeline or whatever, you can see some of the gory details. But I came back and I had something that they had me write on because I couldn't talk. And but the thing is, you're so drugged up that they don't understand what you're writing, you know. So it's like, I'm going to give you something to communicate, but your brain is not going to be able to write something that's legible for anybody to read, which I'm then frustrated, you know, because I'm waking up after 6-7 days and um can't communicate with anybody.
Yeah, that's why babies start crying. They're just trying to tell you what they need. What
Yeah,
they
yeah.
need.
And some of it was like I just needed chapstick, you know, on my lips to tell them like, I just please put chapstick on. Um, so at that point, the first thing that they read that they could read was, I said, they keep me too drugged up. You know, stop giving me the drugs. Yeah, it's like I need my brain back so I can um understand what do I need to do to get this, you know, get behind me.
Yeah, I mean, you felt out of control. You felt like
Absolutely.
you were just
I
in,
just
in
and
zero
there's
control, and that If I, somebody like you, that's got to drive you nuts. And
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
going nuts in here. You can't even express yourself. You're just going crazy.
Yeah, and it was intense, and I mean, there's just so much more I could go into, but I don't think it's, I don't want to go too deep into that whole unpleasant experience per se, as far as like, feeding tubes and that kind of thing. Is just a very, very unpleasant experience. Um, However, um, when I woke up, I I they asked me to get up and basically walk to like this back wall back here where you can see it's like, maybe you don't have it's like 5 feet away.
Right.
And first, when you're in that kind of thing, you can't, they don't let you get out of bed. So you're dying to get out of bed. And then when they tell you, okay, now I want to see if you can walk over here to this thing, and I could not walk. And I just break down and, was really upset. Like, I just ran 10 miles the day before the hospital, and now I can't walk 5 feet next time I'm awake. Um, and at that point, the nurse comes over to console me, and she puts her hand on my leg and she says, okay, it's okay. It's a physical therapist nurse, kind of deal. And she says, you'll be all right. And I look down at her watch, and she has a Ironman triathlon symbol on her watch. Excuse me. So at that point, I saw that triathlon symbol, and I was like, have you done a triathlon, basically? And from what she could understand, she was like, no, and then I told myself, I've done 3. And I haven't done the Ironman, let me be clear, but I've done 3 like sprint triathlons. And so it just, that seeing that sign just on that little symbol reminded me, and it triggered me. Okay, boom. And from there, it was like a total different mind shift to fight mode. Like, all right, let's get out of here. And then by then, I was doing push-ups in my bed because they wouldn't let me out. I figured out, okay, they get me off these drugs, and what I need to do. Okay, I need to walk around the room. I need to be able to walk up some stairs. I need to walk around the floor. I need to, and it was just a series of check marks that over the next 4 days that I kind of went through and checked all their required boxes to get out of there. And I remember the doctor telling me, like, I have never seen anybody, the shape that you were in 4 days ago and you're walking out of here now, is a miracle, and
It is a
when
miracle, really, Patrick. I mean, I remember watching your journey from afar, and we, didn't really know each other, but we had been, following each other on social media for a little while. And I remember your whole journey, and I don't know how many people you probably inspired from afar, but I was one of them. I can tell
I
you right
appreciate it.
now. You never had a lot of actual interaction with you, but if you go back and look at some of that stuff, you'll see my name with that heart, man.
Appreciate
Because
it. Appreciate it.
what you went through was incredible. It inspired the hell out of me, which is why I reached out to you in this podcast, because you've got that mindset and that mentality that, again, it can be learned, but there's so much of it that's natural, and it takes people like you to help inspire other people to take a look at their life and perceive where they are and where they've come from, and understand that there's people way worse off, that have come back from way worse than you have, to completely dominate. And it's truly inspiring, man. You've touched me in a meaningful way from afar, and I hope you realize that you've probably done that for countless other people.
I appreciate it. Yeah, that's why I have those recordings. Was I was like, share this journey. Make sure you document while I'm under. I told my wife at the time, make sure that you document this because I'm gonna get up. And at the time I told her that before I went under, I didn't know exactly what I was getting myself into. but we do have those, which I'm so thankful for. It's probably my most prized possession is those recordings.
Wow.
You know, and it was such an important part of my life. And like you said, I just try to share with everybody, um, you know, what I'm going through, but also maybe inspire or help somebody who's maybe going through a challenging time in their life to kind of push through, you know. If you see somebody laying there in a coma and then a couple of days later they're awake and you're just dealing with like, and I don't want to say just, I don't want to minimize anybody's problem, but maybe
Yeah.
you're going with a hard breakup or a divorce, right? It's less of a, you know, uh, I don't want to, again, I just don't want to compare it because, you know, divorces can be terrible, but um, it's just can maybe put things in perspective that it's not that bad. And there's people that had it worse than me, right? People that have every bone in their body broken or burned beyond recognition that you
There's always a bigger fish.
absolutely,
Always a
absolutely.
bigger fish.
So anything to help somebody get through whatever challenging time they were going through, let's extract the good or the you know the good lesson from a bad situation. And if we could do that to help somebody, then it's all worth it. Um,
Well, I hear you say that, and you said earlier that having this cancer and going through the whole process is now you look at that as a blessing, and it's one of the best things that's happened to you. That's hard for a normal person to really understand. Now, I do believe that you really mean that, and I know you really mean that. But how is that possible? How can someone understand, like you are describing that as a blessing?
Well, easily, man. For me, you know, first of all, throughout the uh, throughout the journey there, my left arm was damaged. You know, and I told you I play basketball and stuff. So my left arm they tied down, it did not work for 3 months. Um, you know, and throughout that journey, I also could not eat for 5 months. Everything was liquid. You had to drink everything.
Five
But when
months?
my arm didn't work, my brother has cerebral palsy and epilepsy. His left arm has never worked. And he has, you know, constant nerve damage in his arm. So for while that 3 months seemed like forever to me, it was a brief snapshot into what he has dealt with his whole life. And so I got to see and feel how it was, you know, and we jokingly say, you know, Dominic, that's my brother's name, you know, use that left arm, use that painted on hand, Dominic. You know, it's not painted on. You can actually use that, but no, he really can't. And I understand what he has dealt with for 30, I guess he's 38, 39 now.
Yeah, which is normal to
Um,
him.
yeah, completely normal, but I understand that he cannot use that arm to the full function. And I understand the limitations that he's had because I have experienced it. Another blessing why I say that is in the one of the best professionally was um, I could not talk for a while. I could talk, but I sounded like my mouth was so swollen and I just would not. If I called you to talk about your mortgage situation, you wouldn't, even if I was communicating the best knowledge how I sounded, you wouldn't have had the confidence in me. So I thought, well, I know this business. I've been doing this for a long time, but I need somebody to be my voice, right? And I can write stuff. I had pre-recorded things throughout the process, right? I knew I was having surgery on my mouth. So if you're having surgery on your mouth, let me just tell you, you should pre-record, you know, voicemails, like a referral comes in. Hey, you're referred over to me, but I'm going to send you an email with some of the next steps.
Right.
And it's a voicemail that would just get dropped, you know, for everybody that was referred to me. And so I learned how to, your voice can be the written word. Some people's voice is art. Some people's voice is music. Or, you know, and mine, and some people's voice is actually speaking, right? But at the time, I learned how to write better, and my emails got better. My long posts that you mentioned that you were reading got better, and it was so therapeutic for me. So I think I discovered that, and then I hired a team, and that's where the team that I have now, it really came into play. And I hired those great people, and just kind of developed that process of how does it work with more people than just me, as I was a one-man show. Okay, now we got 7, 8, 9 people at that time. How do we make this an efficient process? And so then at the time, 2020, right? This has happened in January 2020. By March, pandemic hits and mortgage rates drop dramatically to the lowest that we will ever see them. And business blows up. And I'm in Austin, Texas, one of the hottest housing markets in the United States. Maybe the hottest housing market in the United States for a while.
Right now, it's hot.
Tampa. Yeah, it's on fire. So, the blessing is had that not happened to me, I wouldn't have forced myself to go hire others and get the team that I have. And then when I got my voice back, now we're a lean, mean machine, and we were able to close a lot of loans, and we had financially our most successful year, closing as many loans as we have. And then also 2021 as well. And 2022 is looking great as well. So
that's amazing. So losing your voice really forced you to scale and level up in ways that you hadn't planned, but you were able to make that adjustment in just a couple months' time.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much that I hadn't planned it. I just wasn't going to do it that quickly. Right. Like I mentor, my mentor was always stressing that to me. And but I just thought, well, that sounds good one day. And I told you we're always bringing the laptop out, and now I don't have to bring the laptop everywhere. So that's the blessing, is having the team and implementing with those people, implementing a process so everybody has their role. It also gave me the freedom for the rest of my life. For the rest of that, for the rest of the day outside of my work hours, I can now coach basketball. I can now be involved with my kids' cheer program. And so I'm like I said, it just couldn't have happened more perfectly. In a crazy, crazy way. It was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow.
That's incredible. But terrible.
That's terrible. No, but you're the way you perceive life is important. I think that if anybody's watching this and they take away anything from this, it's that mentality that you carry, that fight that you have in you, that there's a lot that you've gone through that a lot of people would have given up, or a lot of people would have made this an excuse to go on disability for the rest of their life or something like that, right? Take the easy road out.
Yeah.
Another thing that a lot of people know about you that also happened during this time period is that your all-time idol passed away during all of this. How did that affect you?
Oh, man.
Oh, and who is that?
That's definitely Kobe Bryant. So, since I was probably 15, 16. I mean, he came into the NBA at 1996. So since 16 through age 40, right? This is my guy,
right?
And when my son was born, I had a Kobe Bryant t-shirt on, and this is 2010. Whenever I went into the hospital for my surgery, and just for those that know Kobe Bryant and how he would fight through adversity, how he was, and don't make excuses, get the job done kind of mentality.
Mm-hmm.
That really resonated with me. And it was really more than just this guy that scores a lot of points and wins championships in basketball, right? It was so much more than that. That was like secondary to how incredible of a human he was. I would definitely travel to LA to go to games whenever I could, go see the Mavericks games, and I'd be rooting for Kobe. Um, I went into the hospital on my surgery, and I was like, all right, I'm going in with the Mamba mentality. Let's go. That day that I left, I made them go home and get me a Kobe shirt. I wanted to walk in that day and walk out with a Kobe shirt. And, I got out of the hospital on January 14th of 2020. 12 days later, on January 26th, that helicopter goes down, right? And I'm laying in my home in my bed, and my phone is just blowing up, right?
I
And
bet your phone was blowing up.
oh, I mean, incredible. While that you see the wreckage there, and
Yeah.
within minutes, right? I mean, I'm made aware of, literally 100 calls. Everybody knows. I mean, like every video I've done has an authentic. And if I was at home right now and not at the office, I have an autographed framed Kobe Bryant jersey I've had for a decade.
I've seen it.
Yeah, and so I've had that up, and so it's pretty well known, like you said. And so that just, it took me a long time. It was like a family member or somebody close to me. Like I cried. Oh my gosh. So even his 2-year anniversary of the death, January 26th, 2022 here. I definitely, somebody erected a statue of him and his daughter at the crash site. It was that made me tear up even.
Yeah.
And it was the whole thing. Obviously, it was just like the fallen hero, but also, being a father of a young female basketball player as well. And it's just very, very tragic and devastating thing to go through, right?
That's right. And for Kobe, yes, he had a untimely passing, and that was not expected. But for Kobe Bryant, he was at a point in his life where his legacy was, that part of his legacy was already cemented. The world will never forget who Kobe Bryant is. He built an incredible legacy that will never be forgotten by his fans, by his family, by even regular people like me. We all know Kobe and respect the Mamba mentality. I think that forced a lot of people to educate themselves on Kobe Bryant when that happened. Because all those videos of his interviews and everything hit the social media at that point. Of course, they were already out there, but they were just, his message about mentality is something that someone can take away, just like they are going to take away from you during this conversation. But for you, Patrick, how important is your personal legacy?
Man, very important. I think about it very often, right? I think of how do I want to be remembered, right? And how do I want to, if I did see that line again and I went the other way, how would I be remembered? And that's just incredibly important. So I make decisions, based on that, right? Like if I'm in an argument or, like I said, I've went through a divorce, right? And as we're going,
yeah. When was that? Was this after?
Yeah, this is 2021 actually, so last year, and finalizing paperwork last month even. And me and her are totally fine. We're totally cool. We spent time with the kids and everything this past weekend, as a matter of fact. So we spent hours together just taking the kids shopping. But it's because I thought about my legacy and like, in negotiating those things through the divorce, like you keep it. Like I want to, it's more important for me to be remembered as, a good guy or somebody who made a positive impact on somebody. There's a reason I make this positive posts every morning, right? Every Monday through Friday, I try to make sure I, take some motivational quote, try to post that to get it out there, not only for myself, because I like to start my own day off with some positive thoughts. And you got your morning coffee. You might turn on the news and hear all the crazy stuff going on in the world.
Nothing
Um,
positive on there.
let's get one piece of positivity out there. Let's get one something out there into the
Yeah.
world. And I have a lot of like-minded people who do the same thing.
Mhm.
It's just something I've done for years and years and years. But yeah, so I just think I want people to remember me as somebody who um, was a positive person and tried to leave things better than the way I found them. I think is a good unrehearsed answer for you.
No, that's a
Just
great
hopping
answer.
in. Yeah.
That's a great answer, and really, I'm real happy that's something that you've thought about. A lot of people at around your age, they don't think about their legacy, right? We're all caught up in our day to day, and it's not often someone takes a step back to look at the big picture and really plan out a future and how they want to be remembered. It's not till someone typically gets older or something like an extreme life event like you had puts that type of thing into perspective where people start thinking about it. So that's amazing that you have thought about that. I wouldn't have doubted that you hadn't, seeing what you've gone through,
Yeah.
but that's great to hear. Uh, well, we're nearing the end. I know you've got a meeting coming up, so I want to just wrap this up with telling everybody what your mission is over the next 10 years. What are you chasing? What are you after that is going to help cement that legacy, help build what you're trying to build?
Yeah. So, I think, I want to create generational wealth for my children so they don't have to um, deal with some of the struggles that we did. They don't have to ever worry about a constable showing up at their front door, first and foremost, right? Um, I want to make sure that the people that are in my circle, the people that work with me, I hate to say for me, because the people that work with me, I want to make sure that they can accomplish what they want to and be fulfilled with their career and being able to provide for their families as well. So there's a definite financial aspect of that. And the way that we do that is by the great news is by helping as many people as we can get into new homes or making sure that they're in the best financial position, on their biggest asset, whether that be refinancing their home or what, debt consolidation, that kind of thing. Because I know that, you know, debts can also be strains on relationships, right? And so if we can help somebody consolidate and you know maybe save a family from splitting apart or whatever, um then what a great job that we have. So I really appreciate, um I love what we do, in the mortgage industry, and everybody here at Southwest Funding. They really are. We're surrounded by some really good people. Um, Beyond that, want to make sure that we help our sports organization. I'm on the board for Unity Select Sports here in Central Texas. We do track, we do football, cheer, 7-on-7, basketball, and making sure all these kids stay in a positive environment with great coaches and mentors that can help them develop not only as athletes but as good young men and young women in our community, right? Make sure that that we're positively affecting the younger generation and showing them the great things that we learned growing up, right? And making sure that uh we can keep kids out of jail or out of trouble and into sports. I think is the way to go. So I think that's the main thing, is just make sure we help as many people as we can.
Yeah. And for people that may be interested in getting into the mortgage industry, it can be quite the lucrative industry to be in if you are a part of a talented team like yours. What type of person are you trying to attract onto your team?
Somebody that's hungry, obviously, from a loan officer's perspective, somebody who's willing to learn. And if you're already in the business and you're looking to kind of level up and you just need some support and that can help you take your business from maybe, for example, 3 loans a month to you want to take it up to 5 or 6 loans per month, then we're the right team for you. Right. If you're at 5 loans and you want to take it up to 10, I think we can help your production be ramped up. Um, and from a lesser experienced person, we want to make sure that there's somebody that's not scared to really get on the phone and talk to people. I think in this industry, right, or in this world, people tend to want to send emails, send text messages, and it's like, no, get out and meet people, get face to face, jump on the phone, talk to people, and make connections. This industry is all about making relationships. And if you can make relationships, then you're going to do okay in this industry. But you're not going to make relationships being the best emailer all the time or the best texter, right? There's a time for text and there's a time for email, but let's make sure we're making connections with people.
That's right. It's a people industry. Well, for everyone that may be interested in the mortgage industry or someone that wants to reach out and take a look at that journey that you went through, you mentioned they can go to Instagram.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook also. So Patrick Pitts, and you'll see the hood to this vehicle that was on it before it was all damaged. You'll see that on my profile picture right now. But Patrick Pitts 23, I think is where you can find me on Facebook. So there and Instagram at the real Patrick Pitts, and find me there and let's connect and shoot me a message. Tell me, listen to me on this podcast, and Jordan, and we'll make sure that we roll out the red carpet for you.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I enjoy your story. I think it needs to be told. I think it's inspiring, and you need to continue just getting in front of those people and spreading the message, man. So, thanks again for coming on, and hope to talk to you soon. I know you and I will be talking soon, but uh, hope everybody else gets to hear you somewhere else soon too.
Yeah, if there's everything I could do for you or your audience, let me know, man. I'm here to help.
All right, brother.
Love what you're